You see, many of us, right, our assumption would be, why the hell can you not cook rice on the stove? Right? Now, first and foremost, let's talk about secure people, and we're going to go all the way down. Now, secure people don't just be jumping into assumptions. Secure people don't just jump into assumptions. Why? Because they recognize that there are reasons as to why something happens, and they are in the business of asking more questions than making statements or judgments. And they're not rash to run and make an action because they're also emotionally regulated and are able to handle the stress of a situation or event in the relationship. Okay? That's what we need to be all doing. Okay? When an event happens, our thought process should be aligned with, let me ask more questions before I make my decision and my action based upon my assumption that I've made. Let me give you an example. What would be your first assumption? You see, many of us, right, our assumption would be, why the hell can you not cook rice on the stove? Right? Now, the reason why I'm mentioning that is because we all make assumptions. But how many of us will be like, you know what? Have I asked you if you know how to make rice? How many of us actually ask a question before we make our statement? Right? Now, most of us can cook rice, but if somebody was to burn rice or not to make it rice pudding, how many of us have our first question say, wait, hold on a minute, do you know how to cook rice? Without actually making it judgmental, like, do you know how to cook rice? No. Without the judgment, without the tone, without the I know better, how many of us would be able to ask that question first? That would be an example of us not running to an assumption and asking a question first. So what a secure person learns to do is to ask more questions rather than just making statements. They might think about it, but what they'll recognize is, hold on a minute, it's a fleeting thought. Let me make sure I'm asking questions first before I run to making a statement or a judgment or an action based upon how I feel. Let me get their side of the story. Let me understand where they're coming from. Let me see what is on their side of the pond before I make a statement, judgment, or I make an action. So this is what we mean by assumptions actually kill, okay?